In this video, we're going to talk about how to use the if function and also the and as well as the or function. So let's zoom in first. In this first column, I'm going to type in the fruit and also if it's true or false. So let's say the fruits are an apple, an orange, a mango, and also a lemon. And what we're going to do is we're going to design the if function to state true if it's an orange and to state false if it's not an orange. So what you need to do is type in equal if. Now we're going to look at the cell to the left. So that's going to be cell A2. And we're going to say if A2 is an orange, then we want to get an output of true. So if it's an orange, we want Excel to tell us that it's true. If it's not an orange, we want Excel to say that it's false. And then what you could do is click this cell and then click the button at the bottom right and then bring it down. So it's going to extend that function, as you could see here, to every cell in this column. So we don't have an orange entry in A2, so that's why it's false. We do have it in A3, so it's true. Everything else is false. So if we switch lemon with an orange, then it becomes a true statement. So these cells will check to see if we have an orange to the left, or if we have something else, then it's going to tell us it's false. In addition to getting an output of true or false, we can also get Excel to say something else, anything that we want to say, such as yes or no, or something like that. So let's create a new column, this time with color. And the color that we're looking for is going to be green. Actually, let's make it red. So let's say that the colors that we have are blue, yellow, green, and red. So let's use the if function. Type in equal if parentheses. So let's say we're looking at column D. So let's start with cell D2. So if cell D2 is, in quotations, red, then instead of getting true, we want Excel to say yes. So that's the value if it's true. And then the value if false, we want Excel to say no instead of false. So whatever you want Excel to say, you need to include it here in quotations. And then close the parentheses and then press the equal, or rather the enter button. And then let's extend it. And so we can see that it's red for cell D4. Everything else is a no. If we change yellow to red, then it becomes a yes. And so that's how you can use the if function to see if a certain cell meets a criteria or not. Now, what if we have two columns of data as opposed to one? Let's see what we can do with this information. So let's say in the first column we have the fruit, and in the second column we have the color. Now let's say the fruits are an orange, an apple, a lemon, another apple, a mango, and let's say lime. And the color of the orange will be orange. Let's say here we have a red apple and a yellow lemon. And let's say a green apple and an orange mango. And let's say a green lime. So in column C, we're going to check to see if the two cells or the two columns on the left represents an apple. So we'll write the question, is it an apple? And let's expand the width of that column. So let's drag it to the right. Next, we're going to have, is it green? So click and then hold and then pull it to the right. After that, we're going to see, is it a green apple? So for that, we need to use the AND function rather than the if function. And for the last one, we're going to check to see, is it green or an apple? So we need to use the OR statement as opposed to the AND statement or AND function. So let's check to see if it's an apple. So we need to look at the fruit column. So let's check cell A8. So equal if, and then open parentheses, cell A8. Let's see if it's an apple. So let's put that in quotations. And for this, I'm going to use the true and false option. So I don't need to put that in quotation marks. And let's extend it. So we can see that we have an apple in cell A9, and then let's press Control. So you can see also we have another apple in cell A11. Thus we have an output of true in column C for those cells. Now let's check to see if it's green. So let's use the if function, and this time we're looking at column B. So let's start with cell B8. So we're going to see if it's green. So let's put that in parentheses. And then we're going to use yes and no as our output value that Excel will give us. And then extend it. So it's only green for cell B11 and B13. As you can see, we get a yes for those options. Now, is it a green apple? So we need to know, is it green and is it also an apple? Therefore, instead of using the if function, we're going to use the AND function. So let's type in equal and the first logical statement will be for column A. So A8, let's see if it's an apple. So let's put quotation marks, apple, and then comma, the second logical statement. Let's see if it's green. So this is for the color column, so that's cell B8 equals green. And now let's extend it. So the only time we get a true statement is for row 11. As you can see, we have a green apple, and so therefore it's going to be true in that option. Now let's do the same thing for the last column. Let's see if it's green or if it's an apple. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the OR function, and then after you type in equal or, type in parentheses, and we'll start with cell A8 just like before, and let's see if it's an apple. So let's put equals apple in quotations, and then B8, we're going to see if it's green in color. And so that's a simple way in which you could use the OR function, and then extend it. So here, this is true. The reason why it's true is because we have a red apple. Remember, it's either green or an apple. So if one of those statements are true, it being green or an apple, then we're going to get an output of true. So here we have an apple, and then the next one is true because here we have both a green apple, and the last one is true because the color is green, but we don't have an apple. And so if it's either green or an apple, we're going to get a true value. Now, how can we use the AND and the OR function such that Excel will tell us yes or no rather than true or false? In this case, we need to use a nested if function. That's where we combine the if with the AND statement or the if with the OR statement. So let me show you how to do that in column E. So let's type in equal and then if parentheses. Now let's start with an AND statement. So we're going to write AND. It can be capitalized or lowercase. Then open parentheses again. The first logical statement will be cell A8. Let's see if it's an apple. and then comma, cell B8. Let's make sure that it's green, and then close parentheses, press comma. Now in quotations, let's type in yes. We want Excel to say yes instead of true. And then the value, if it's false, we want it to say a no instead of false. And so let's go ahead and extend it using the little button at the bottom right. So here we don't have a green apple. The only time we have a green apple is in row 11. So here we have a green apple and we have an option of yes. Now let's apply this to the second column. So we're going to type in equal if, and let's put in our nested OR function. And then everything else is going to be the same. Cell A8, we're going to make sure it's an apple. And then cell B8, let's make sure it's green. And then yes if the value is true, and no if the value is false. And then extend it. So here we do have an apple. It's a red apple, but if one of these conditions are met, if it's green or if it's an apple, we're going to get yes. Here it's both green and an apple, and here it's only green. And so that's how you could use the and the or function nested within the if function if you want to get an output that's different than true or false. Now let's go over some more examples of using the if, the and the or functions. So here we have the names of a few individuals and their monthly sales. Let's say they're working on commission. And what we're going to do is we're going to see if their income is less than 50,000, equal to, or more than 50,000. That is their sales for the month. So let's use the if statement or the if function to do so. So if cell B2, let's say, is less than 50,000, and then in that case, we want to say yes. Or rather, let's just say it is less than 50K. Let's choose something different. And then if it's not, we'll say no, it's not. So this one is less than 50K. And let's repeat that with the rest. So here, this is not less than 50K, but here it is. And so we can make Excel give us an output of whatever we wanted to say. For the next column, we're going to see which ones are equal to 50K. So let's analyze cell B2 again, and this time we're going to see if it's equal to 50,000. If it is, we're going to write it is equal to 50K, and then close the quotation marks. If it's not, we'll just write no, and then extend the pattern. So we only have one option where it's equal to 50K, and that's Arnold. He made 50,000 that month. Now, let's do the same example if it's more than 50K. So equals if cell B2, and then we need to press the greater than button. So if cell B2 is more than 50,000, we're going to say it's more than 50K. If it's not, if the value is false, we'll say no. And so we have two options where the monthly sales exceed 50,000, and that's for Jason and Brianna. Now let's talk about the bonus. So each commissioned sales agent, we're going to give them a 10% bonus if their sales is 50,000 or less. So that includes 50,000. Now the way you need to write it in Excel is you need to write less than, so the less than symbol, and also the equal sign. So that indicates less than or equal to 50K. Now we're also going to give a 50% bonus to anyone whose sales is between 50K and 100K, but more specifically, we're going to say if their sales is greater than 50K, but less than or equal to 100K. Now, for anyone whose sales exceed 100K, their entire sales for that month will get a 20% bonus. And then in the last column, we're going to put the total. Now, for the 10% bonus, we're going to use the if function. So if cell B2 is less than or equal to 50,000, then the value, if true, will be a mathematical operation as opposed to true or false or yes or no or something like that. And so we're going to take the value in B2 and we're going to multiply it by 10%, which is 0.10. If it's false, we're going to return a value of 0. And so 35,000 is less than 50,000. 10% of 35,000 is 3,500. Now let's extend the pattern. So 50,000 is within this range. It's still part of less than or equal to 50,000. And so 10% of 50,000, that's 5,000. And 10% of 30,000 is 3,000. For Jason and Brianna, their monthly sales were greater than 50,000, and so they're not going to get a 10% bonus, but they're going to get a higher bonus. Now let's repeat the process. So equals if, and then let's say if B2 is, well, this time we need to make it different because we're between two values. So we need to use a nested AND function within the if function. So let me put AND after if. Now we need two things to be true. The sales has to be greater than 50,000, but less than or equal to 100,000. So let's start with this. B2 has to be less than, or rather greater than 50,000, and then comma, B2 must also be less than or equal to 100,000. So let's close, and then comma. So the value if true, that is, we're going to multiply it by whatever B2 is, we're going to multiply it by 15% or 0.15. If it's not true, we're going to return a value of 0 if it's false. And now let's extend it. So only Jason has a monthly sales that is between 50,000 and 100,000. And so we're going to multiply that value by 15%. And so if you type in equal 65,000, times 0.15, you'll get 9750, which is what we have here. Now, for the last one, the 20% bonus will be received for anyone who has sales greater than 100K. So let's type in equal if cell B2 is greater than 100,000, then the value, if true, will be B2 times 20% or 0.20. If it's not, we'll return a value of 0. So only one person has made sales over 100K, and that's Brianna. So she's going to get a 20% bonus. Let's say that each person receives a standard 15% commission rate in addition to the bonus. So here we're going to write B2 times 15%, 0.15, plus the bonus found in F2, in G2, and in H2. And then let's extend this pattern. And so this will give us the total pay that each sales agent will receive for that month. So in the case of Arnold, he's going to receive 15%, which is 7,500. That's 15% of 50,000 plus a 5,000 bonus. So that's 12,500 for his pay for that month. And so that's it for this video. Now you know how to use the if, the and, as well as the or function in Excel. Thanks for watching.